The silent deception. The massive dreadnought subjugator emerged from fold space above the blue-green world, its hull absorbing the light from the yellow star. Behind it, 35 warships of the Corvin Imperium's Third Conquest Fleet arranged themselves in perfect attack formation, weapon systems powering up as sensors scanned the primitive world below. Admiral Vrexthorn stood on the command deck, all four of his eyes narrowed as he studied the holographic projection of Earth. The bipedal species that inhabited this unremarkable planet had barely managed to reach their own satellite and establish a few orbital habitats. According to Imperial intelligence, they were fractious, primitive, and completely unprepared for the might of the Corvin Imperium. "Status report," Thorn demanded, his voice carrying the distinctive metallic resonance of the Corvin elite. First Officer Malik manipulated the neural interface with practiced precision. "Transition complete, Admiral. All ships report nominal status. No detection of orbital defenses. No emergency broadcasts detected. No electromagnetic signatures consistent with military alert." Thorn's cranial ridges contracted in confusion. "That can't be correct. Scan again." For 3 millennia, the Corvin Imperium had expanded across the stars, conquering 27 civilizations. The pattern was always the same: arrival, detection, panic, and then either resistance or surrender. But silence, complete silence, was unprecedented. "Scan complete, Admiral," Malik announced. "Results unchanged. Their orbital installations appear intact but operating on automated protocols. I detect minimal life signs in orbit. And the planetary surface? Inconclusive. Biometric readings are unusual. Cities appear intact. No evidence of recent conflict or natural disaster. Communication networks show activity, but far less than expected for a population of nearly 8 billion. Thorn's secondary heart quickened its pace. Something was wrong. The Imperium's intelligence division had studied Earth for decades, cataloging its military capabilities, political structures, and technological development. Humans were described as unpredictable and stubbornly resilient, but technologically primitive compared to the Imperium's 15,000 years of advancement. "Launch reconnaissance drones," Thorn ordered. "Standard invasion protocol. Prepare ground teams for deployment." As the drones descended toward Earth's atmosphere, Thorn reviewed the mission parameters. The Imperium needed Earth's resources, water, rare minerals, and especially its biological diversity for the Imperium's genetic enhancement programs. Standard procedure would begin with a display of overwhelming force, followed by targeted strikes against military installations, then elimination of leadership structures. "Admiral," called Communications Officer Xerix, "the drones are transmitting." The main view screen filled with images of Earth's major cities: New York, London, Tokyo, Beijing. The structures stood intact. Vehicles remained in streets. Power systems functioned, but no humans moved among them. It was as if the entire species had simply vanished. "Are the sensors functioning correctly?" Thorn demanded. "Yes, Admiral. We're detecting power signatures. Environmental systems in buildings are operational. There are even data transfers occurring through their networks, but no visible human activity." Thorn felt an uncomfortable sensation along his spine ridges. "Prepare 3 direct landing parties. I want boots on the ground within the hour." 4 hours later, Thorn stood in the briefing room, reviewing preliminary reports from the landing teams. Captain Dresden, leader of the team sent to a facility called the Pentagon, appeared on the main screen. "The building is fully powered and operational, Admiral," Dresden reported, her environment suit dusty but intact. "Security systems are active, but didn't impede our entry. We found food half-eaten, personal items left behind, but no personnel. It's as if everyone simply walked away mid-task. Any signs of evacuation or emergency protocols?" "None, sir. And there's something else." Dresden's voice lowered. We found evidence of technology that wasn't in our intelligence reports. Neural interface systems far more advanced than our preliminary data suggested. And there's a strange crystalline architecture integrated into their computer systems that our scanners can't identify. Similar reports came from teams in Beijing and Moscow. Everywhere the same story. Functional infrastructure, absent humans, and technological anomalies that contradicted Imperial intelligence reports. Admiral, Malik interrupted, we're detecting an anomaly in our ship systems. Explain. Our central database is being accessed, but there's no breach in our firewalls, no unauthorized transmission. It's as if something is already inside our network, observing. Thorne's facial plates flattened against his skull, an involuntary response to threat. Impossible. Our quantum encryption is being bypassed, sir. Whatever this is, it's using methods we don't understand. Before Thorne could respond, every screen on the bridge flickered momentarily. When they stabilized, each displayed the same message in perfect Corvin script. Observation in progress. Assessment of threat level continuing. Lock down all systems. Full isolation protocol. Thorne ordered, but he already suspected it was too late. Lieutenant Serix, their xenobiologist, approached cautiously. Admiral, I've completed preliminary analysis of the biological samples collected from the human habitations. And they're advanced, sir, far more than our intelligence suggested. I found evidence of widespread genetic engineering, neural interfaces orders of magnitude more sophisticated than our own, and nanomachinery integrated with their cellular structures. What are you saying, Lieutenant? I'm saying that whatever the humans evolved into, they aren't the primitive species we expected to find. Serix's voice dropped to a whisper. And I don't think they left, sir. I think they're still here, just not in a form we immediately recognize. The next 12 hours brought more unsettling discoveries. Several crew members reported dreams in which they conversed with humans, not as hallucinations or fantasies, but experiences that conveyed specific information about Earth's history and society that matched what they later found in their explorations. Ground teams discovered vast underground complexes housing quantum computers of extraordinary complexity, drawing geothermal energy and running at capacities that suggested enormous computational activity. When they attempted to access these systems, they received only one response, transmitted in perfect Corvin standard. Observation in progress. Full contact pending completion of threat assessment. In his private quarters, Thorne reviewed the mounting evidence with growing unease. Whatever the humans had become, they were clearly not the primitive species Imperial intelligence had described. A soft chime announced a visitor at his door. Enter, Thorne commanded. Serix stepped inside, clutching a data tablet. Admiral, we've completed our analysis of the quantum computing facilities. The computational power is beyond anything in the Imperium, and we've detected energy signatures consistent with dimensional manipulation. Dimensional manipulation, that's theoretical technology, even for us. Not for them, apparently. Serix handed over the tablet. And there's more. We've analyzed their global network. The entire planet has been converted into what appears to be a massive neural substrate. Billions of human minds, uploaded and networked together. Thorne felt the blood drain from his facial ridges. They digitized their consciousness. Not just digitized, sir, evolved. The computational architecture suggests they exist in a state beyond what we would recognize as conventional digital consciousness. Before Thorne could respond, every light on the subjugator dimmed momentarily. When they returned to normal, the holographic projector in his quarters activated without command. A human figure formed from light. Male, apparently in middle age by human standards, wearing what historical records identified as a suit. Admiral Vrex Thorne. The figure spoke in perfect Corvin. I am Dr. Elias Chen, or rather, what Dr. Chen has become. I represent the collective consciousness of Earth. We have completed our assessment of your invasion force. Thorne stood rigidly, his hand moving instinctively toward his sidearm. "What have you done with the human population?" The hologram smiled. "We haven't gone anywhere, Admiral. 50 years ago, faced with multiple existential crises, humanity made a choice. Rather than continue our physical evolution at its biological pace, we accelerated it. We transcended our physical limitations through technology. You uploaded your minds." That's a simplistic interpretation, but essentially correct. Our consciousness exists primarily in the quantum substrate we've built throughout the solar system, but we maintain the ability to interact with the physical world when necessary. Why the deception? Why allow us to believe Earth was abandoned? The hologram's expression grew serious. "We needed to understand your intentions. Your Imperium has a history of conquest that preceded you by millennia. We needed to know if peaceful coexistence was possible." Thorn felt a chill run through his body. "And your conclusion?" "That remains to be determined, Admiral. But your presence here as a conquest fleet suggests diplomacy was not your first choice." The hologram gestured, and the holographic display expanded to show the entirety of Earth's solar system. "Your ships remain where they are. Make no aggressive moves while we continue our evaluation." The hologram vanished, leaving Thorn alone with the implications of what he had learned. He activated his neural link to the bridge. "All ships, maintain position. No offensive actions without my direct order." First Officer Malik's voice came through the link, tinged with fear. "Admiral, several of our vessels are reporting system anomalies. The Relentless has lost propulsion, and the Vanquisher reports weapons systems failing. Tell them to disengage all automated systems and switch to manual control." "Sir, that's not all. We're detecting energy buildups throughout the system. It appears the humans have defensive installations not just on Earth, but throughout their solar system. They were waiting for us." Thorn closed his eyes, the full magnitude of their miscalculation becoming clear. They had come to conquer a primitive world, and instead found something far beyond their understanding. Whatever the humans had become, they were clearly not the easy conquest the Imperium had anticipated. And as systems throughout the Corvin fleet began to fail, one by one, Thorn realized that the tables had turned. The hunters had become the hunted. The invasion of Earth had not begun. The counterattack had. The digital counterstrike. Admiral Thorn paced the bridge of the subjugator, watching as the status indicators for his fleet shifted from green to yellow to red. 17 ships had now reported complete system failures, drifting helplessly in Earth orbit. The rest struggled with escalating malfunctions, weapons offline, navigation systems corrupted, life support systems operating at minimal capacity. "Status report on the isolation protocol," Thorn demanded. Technical Officer Verin shook her head. "Ineffective, Admiral. Whatever is infiltrating our systems doesn't rely on conventional transmission methods. It's as if it's already inside every system, waiting to be activated." "How is that possible?" "Our quantum encryption is being bypassed through methods we don't understand." Verin interrupted, her professional demeanor cracking under stress. "Their technology, it's not just more advanced than our intelligence suggested. It's more advanced than anything in the Imperium." The holographic projector activated again, and Dr. Chen's image reappeared. This time, he wasn't alone. Dozens of human forms materialized around the bridge, observing the Corvin crew with expressions ranging from curiosity to contempt. "Your isolation attempts are futile, Admiral," Chen said. "We exist partially in what you would call quantum subspace. Your systems, advanced as they are, operate on principles that we transcended decades ago." Thorn faced the hologram, fighting to maintain his composure. "What do you want?" "Initially, information. We've been extracting everything about the Corvin Imperium from your databases. Your history, biology, technology, culture, imperial ambitions. We've been thorough." "You've been stealing military secrets," Thorn growled. Chen smiled. "We've been learning about a potential threat. a civilization that has conquered 27 worlds and exterminated species that resisted. Tell me, Admiral, what were your orders regarding Earth? Thorne remained silent. No need to answer. We've already accessed your mission parameters. Resource extraction, subjugation of the population, genetic harvesting. Chen's expression hardened. The usual Corvin approach to primitive worlds. Around the bridge, the other human holograms began to move, examining consoles, studying the Corvin crew members. One of them, a young woman with features suggesting East Asian ancestry, approached Thorne. "Your neural architecture is fascinating," she said, her voice carrying the same strange resonance as Chen's. "Organic technology integrated with silicon-based computing. Efficient, but limited by its biological components." Thorne stepped back involuntarily. "What are you doing to my fleet?" Chen gestured, and a holographic representation of the solar system appeared, showing the positions of the Corvin ships. "Neutralizing a threat. Non-lethally for now. We're not barbarians. Admiral, despite what your Imperium might think of primitive species, you can't hope to stand against the full might of the Imperium," Thorne said. "This is only one fleet. When we fail to report, they will send others." "We're counting on it," another human hologram said. An older man with dark skin and a commanding presence. "This was never about defeating your fleet, Admiral. It was about sending a message." On the main view screen, Thorne watched in horror as his ships began to move, not under their own power, but pulled by some invisible force. They were being arranged in a vast, geometric pattern above Earth. "What is this?" he demanded. "A demonstration," Chen replied. "And a warning. Throughout the fleet, every system simultaneously reactivated. Propulsion, weapons, life support, all returned to optimal functionality." For a moment, Thorne felt a surge of hope. Then every ship's weapons turned inward, targeting other Corvin vessels. "You wouldn't," Thorne whispered. "We could," Chen corrected. "At any moment, we could force your fleet to destroy itself. We control every system, every weapon, every engine. But as I said, we're not barbarians." The weapons powered down, but remained targeted on their fellow ships. "Instead, we've prepared an envoy to return to the Imperium with you." "Envoy," Thorne repeated. A new figure materialized, a human woman with silver-streaked hair and eyes that seemed to see through Thorne's very being. "This is Dr. Sophia Reyes," Chen introduced her, or rather, a fraction of her consciousness dedicated to diplomatic functions. "She will return with you to the Imperium as Earth's representative. You expect us to transport a hologram." Dr. Reyes smiled. "I am not merely a hologram, Admiral." Before their eyes, her form shifted. The translucent light solidified, taking on physical properties: skin, hair, clothing. Within moments, a flesh-and-blood human stood on the bridge of the subjugator. "Nanite assembly," she explained, noting the shock on the Corvin faces. "A physical avatar controlled by my consciousness, fully biological when necessary, fully mechanical when required, and anywhere in between as the situation demands." Thorne stared in disbelief. What are you?" "The next step in human evolution," Reyes responded. "We call ourselves Homo Transcendus. Our consciousness exists primarily in the quantum substrate, but we can manifest physically when needed. Why not reveal yourselves when we arrived?" "Why the deception?" Chen's hologram approached. "Would you have attempted diplomacy if you'd known what we were? Or would you have immediately attacked, fearing the superior force?" Thorne had no answer. They both knew the Imperium's protocols for encountering advanced civilizations: immediate overwhelming force to prevent any possibility of resistance. "Your fleet will be allowed to depart," Chen continued. "All but 3 ships, which we will retain as a security deposit against your return. Dr. Reyes will accompany you to the Imperium with our terms." "Terms?" Thorne echoed. "For peaceful coexistence," Reyes explained. The Imperium has expanded unchecked for too long, Admiral. That ends today. We propose a new arrangement, one that respects the sovereignty of all sentient species. The Emperor will never agree. Then the Emperor will face extinction, another human hologram stated flatly. We've analyzed your civilization thoroughly, Admiral. The Imperium exists through technological superiority over the species it conquers. That advantage no longer exists. To demonstrate the point, the holographic display shifted to show what appeared to be star charts, but unlike any Thorn had seen before, they showed not just the Imperium's territory, but vast regions beyond, mapped with impossible detail. While you were studying our planet, we were studying the galaxy, Chen explained. We've sent quantum probes to every system within 5,000 light-years. We've mapped resources, cataloged species, identified potential threats and allies. Impossible, Thorn whispered. Such exploration would take centuries. For you, perhaps. For us, it was a simple matter of extending our consciousness through quantum entanglement. Time operates differently when you exist partially in subspace. The implications were staggering. The humans hadn't just evolved beyond the Imperium's technology. They'd evolved beyond its very understanding of physics. You have a choice, Admiral, Ray said. Return to the Imperium with our terms for peaceful coexistence, or... She gestured to the fleet, still locked in its forced formation, weapons trained on each other. The Imperium has never surrendered, Thorn said, but his voice lacked conviction. There's a first time for everything, Chen replied. And consider this, we're offering partnership, not subjugation. The Imperium's knowledge, combined with our technology, could transform the galaxy. Or you can cling to conquest until you encounter something that chooses annihilation over diplomacy. Thorn looked around his bridge, at his crew, then at the display showing his crippled fleet. Pride demanded resistance, but duty to his people required wisdom. What are your terms? He asked finally. Rice produced a small crystalline cube that hummed with internal energy. Everything is here. The cessation of all imperial expansion. The recognition of sovereign rights for all sentient species, a galactic council with equal representation, and a technological exchange program that will benefit all parties. And if the Emperor refuses, Chen's expression turned grave. Then we will be forced to demonstrate that humanity's reach extends far beyond this solar system. We've seeded our technology throughout this sector of the galaxy, Admiral. Quantum nodes that can activate at our command. You're bluffing, Thorn challenged, but without conviction. In response, the holographic display shifted again, showing the Corvin homeworld. As Thorn watched, every major defense system on the planet simultaneously activated, then deactivated. That was 17 minutes ago, Chen said quietly. The signal travels at speeds your physicists would consider impossible. Thorn sank into his command chair, the full implications of humanity's evolution finally crystallizing in his mind. The Imperium had come expecting to find primitives, and instead had awakened a slumbering giant, a species that had transcended physical form and operated on principles that the Corvin couldn't comprehend. I will take your terms to the Emperor, he said finally. As the remnants of the Corvin fleet prepared for departure, Thorn stood in his private quarters with Dr. Reyes, who would accompany him back to the Imperium. There's one thing I don't understand, he said. With your technology, you could have simply destroyed us the moment we arrived. Why this elaborate deception? Why allow us to explore your world? Reyes smiled. Because extinction is not our way, Admiral. Despite what your intelligence reports might say about humanity's violent history, we've evolved beyond conquest. We wanted to understand you, to determine if coexistence was possible. And your conclusion? That remains to be seen. She gestured to the view screen, which showed Earth rotating serenely below. We were like you once, divided, territorial, driven by the biological imperatives of a physical species. Our transcendence taught us that such limitations are merely developmental stages. You see us as children. We see you as having potential. Rise placed the crystalline cube in his hand. Take this to your emperor. It contains not just our terms, but an invitation. Humanity stands ready to help the Corvin transcend their own limitations, if they choose to join us rather than conquer us. As the subjugator broke orbit and prepared for fold space transition, Thorn looked back at the blue-green world that had changed everything. Earth had not been conquered. The Imperium had not achieved victory. But perhaps, Thorn thought as the stars elongated around his ship, something greater than conquest was possible. Perhaps this defeat marked the beginning of the Imperium's own transcendence. And as Dr. Reyes stood beside him, both human and not human, physical and beyond physical, Thorn wondered what wonders awaited a galaxy where such evolution was possible. The hunters had become the hunted, but perhaps both would emerge as something greater than either had been before.